Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be talking about the array, more specifically the one-dimensional array. So what is an array? Well, an array is simply a collection of like objects. And what I mean by that is we just have a container that has boxes for a bunch of integers or a bunch of dogs and whatnot. So let's go ahead and open up Paint, and I'm just going to kind of show you a visual conceptualization of an array, a one-dimensional array. So let's just call this, we'll just call it a myInt array, and maybe we'll have, size 5. And then we'll just create the array, which is just one big, big object here, and then we need some containers within there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now all of these containers, which really should probably be the same size and everything, but you'll just have to forgive me. All of these containers can contain an int inside of them, or an integer. So 1, 7, 5, 11, 9. Okay. So now that we have, now you can kind of see exactly what an array looks like, conceptually. The only tricky part about an array is each one of these boxes can be identified by the index operator. But the weird thing is the index starts at 0. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can say, computer, get me the value at, myInt array's box number 3. So, or the fourth box, it would actually be listed as 3. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, actually in C#. We have our standard dog class, constructor, properties, static variable, all pretty standard stuff, and one method that says, barks and says the name of the dog. Here, this is where we get into our new stuff. So here we're declaring an array of type int. And again, just remember the array is simply a collection, but the boxes inside are actually integers. And then, new int 10. So we have 10 boxes that can hold integers. And then let's go ahead and populate the array, okay? So we're going to do a for loop, and the for loops are pretty standard in assigning variables or assigning values to the integer variables inside the array. So let's take a look at what we're doing here. myInt array, and then we're using that index operator, which will be 0, so that the first time around, so that'd be referencing the first box equals 0 times 2, so that's 0. Then we'll get, the second time around, it'll look at the second box, which is 1, and put in let's see, 1 times 2 is 2. So we'll just keep doing that until the very end of the array. And we can go ahead and run this to take a look to see if that's true, and it is. So in the very last element, which is our 10th element, which is referenced with a number 9, it has a value of 18 in there. To make it easier on ourselves, instead of putting this 10 in here, because sometimes we're not going to know how large the array is, we could do myInt array.length, and we can just run that, and we'll get the same exact scenario. We can do the same with down here. My dog array dot length. Okay, so let's go ahead and uncomment this. So now the only difference between this array, and it may be hard to see from this example, and the dog array is this integers are an intrinsic type. It'll automatically initialize into safe values. So if we go, in fact, we'll just test this, right? So console.writeLine, let's see, myInt array 4 equals, now if we do this here, myInt array 4. And if we run this, we'll get a 0. Okay, that makes sense. So it initializes them to safe types. Now for a reference type, which is what a dog is, if we try doing that, if we try running it or accessing that before we use the constructor to initialize it, let's see what happens. So let's see here. We'll go my dog array 2 dot bark. Let's see what happens here. Crash our program, right? So it's always fun. So let's go ahead and get rid of this, initialize our reference types before we use them, and we'll see here we're just going through. Name of dog is name of dog plus 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll run this and it'll bark for each dog. Makes sense. So let's go ahead and just do a few more things here, just to kind of make it a little more solid in our minds exactly how we use these arrays. So my dog array dot, my dog array, let's do the third, in this collection, let's do the third dog container dot name equals blue. So we've got that, and then we'll do console right line my dog array 3, which is actually the fourth one, remember, equals my dog array dot name. And if we run this now, we should get that the dog's name is blue, which we do. So we just access that container on the third, in the array, the array container, we access the dog box, the fourth box. So what happens again if we go ahead and do this? 5 name, and it'll let us. Actually, you know what? Let's do bark. Then we run this, we're going to get index out of range exception, which makes sense, right? Here's our index, it's out of range. If we went ahead and changed this to 4, it'll bark. So perfect. So let's finally just review our static member variable. So we'll do console right line number of dogs equals dog dot number of dogs, and when we run this, we should get the total number of dogs that we've created. And again, we have one collection object with 5 dogs in there, so that makes sense. So we're going to be using arrays extensively. We're going to be talking about arrays, jagged arrays, multi-dimensional arrays. There's all kinds of arrays, but definitely starting to get into some more fun stuff. If you have any questions, please leave us a comment and visit us at Nextstar TV. And thanks again for joining, and we'll see you next time.